Good evening, everyone. My name is Morris Charles, and I'm the Dean of Rockefeller Memorial Chapel. The depth of this tragedy demanded that we gather as best we can in person, as well as remotely. In order to keep one another safe, please remember to wear your masks unless you're speaking at the podium, and maintain 2 meters distance between households. Thank you so much. Shall I cry out in anger? Shall I blot from my mind the love I have rejoiced in, when fate leaves me bereft of shining presences that have lit my way through the years of companionship and affection? Those I have loved, though now beyond my view, have given form and quality to my being. They have led me into the wide universe I continue to inhabit, and their presence is more real to me than their absence. These few words from Morris Adler's longer Yitzhak reading encapsulate for all of us the dizzying mix of anger, sadness, and heartache the whole community feels after this tragic weekend. Our community has been robbed of Yiran Fan's shining presence, and we feel it whether we knew him or not. But still, something of his shining presence, that ever-present smile of his, remains in the hearts and minds of all who know and love him. So we gather together in the damp and drizzle to throw off the shroud that covers our community, to light our candles and scatter the darkness, and to embrace his parents and his loved ones and his mentors and friends with our compassion. And as we do so, I invite you to a moment of silence. Professor Robert Zimmer is president of the University of Chicago. We welcome him to the podium. Professor Zimmer, President Zimmer.
Well, thank you all for being here at this very sad, indeed tragic moment for the University of Chicago community, or as I often prefer thinking about it, as the University of Chicago family. Speaking of family, we are deeply honored to have Yiran Fan's parents with us here for this event. They arrived from China, and it is a great honor for us to have them with us and to share with us our collective sorrow at Yiran Fan's, at our loss of Yiran Fan, and of course theirs. So I've mentioned family twice, and of course Yiran was a member of multiple families and subfamilies of the University of Chicago, not only of the total University of Chicago family, but that of the Booth School of Business, that of the Griffin Department of Economics, that of the Department of Mathematics, and of course the family of members of the University of Chicago community from China. And by that I mean, of course, our students here, but also parents, alumni, and friends, both here in the United States and in China, and indeed around the world. This is a very important part of our community, an important part of our family, and I know that this has been a deeply felt tragic event for that family. And indeed, he was part of the family of the people of China as a whole, and we recognize that this is a loss for that family as well. One of the things that's been very striking to me over the last few days is that I keep hearing from all these parts of all these different families the same types of things about Yiran Fan. First, that he was such a kind and generous individual, so that we miss him deeply because of the nature of his humanity. And second, that he was an extraordinary student and scholar. And I've heard this from extraordinary scholars who remarked just how much he was able to accomplish and just how much potential he had. So at this moment, we gathered together and again particularly expressed to his parents, but to all of us, the admiration we feel and the celebration of his life and all that he brought to everyone he met. And also, of course, the deep sorrow and mourning that we all feel about this senseless and terrible act of violence that took him from all of us. So again, I want to express my appreciation to his parents for being here with us, and thank you for the honor of having you with us here today. We will always remember him for who he was as a wonderful individual, and remember him for his talent and accomplishment at several great institutions around the world, and in particular here at the University of Chicago. Good evening.
Thank you, President Zimmer. Professor Kai-Yi Lee is Provost of the University of Chicago. We welcome her to the podium.
Today, we come together in solemn remembrance of a beloved family members of our community. I join President Zimmer in extending my condolences and deepest sympathy to Yiran's parents and loved ones. Yiran was a student and a scholar of exceptional promise. His pursuit of knowledge took him from Beijing to Cambridge and then to Chicago, where he joined our academic community in 2014 to study in the financial mathematics program. After receiving his master's degree in 2015, Yiran served as a research professional at the Farmer-Miller Center for Research and Finance before joining the joint Ph.D. program of the Booth School of Business and the Kenneth C. Griffin Department of Economics in 2017. His research combined insights from economic dynamics and corporate finance theory to better understand the regulation of financial institutions and markets. and he was well on his way to propose his dissertation later this year. Yiran reflected the best and brightest of our community, and hence enriched the lives of so many of us during his tenure here. As an exceptional student, a talented scholar, a patient teacher, and a caring friend. As a community, our hearts are heavy as we mourn a life cut short in a senseless act of gun violence. To those of you who were fortunate enough to have known Yiran on campus, we are here to support you in this profoundly sad time. And to Yiran's parents and loved one, Yiran 的家人既爱，你们的伤痛绝非笔墨语言所能形容。虽然往后我们可能分别两地，但芝加哥大学经过叙述，回馈你们未来的日子，记住思念，刻土道。在这里，让我们通过回念，依然对既是不息的追求，对同学、同事、各朋友的关怀有限，对逝去的种种贡献，以及通过工作所取得的卓越成就，来对依然致最崇高的致敬。
Roger Lee is Associate Professor of Mathematics in the Physical Sciences Division. We welcome him to the podium. Professor Lee.
To the family and friends and colleagues of Fan Yiran, and to the University of Chicago community, I'm here to express that we in the financial mathematics program are heartbroken at the passing of our esteemed alumnus. Yiran came to Chicago in 2014, well prepared to enter our master's program, having already completed 2 master's degrees in China and in UK. He then proceeded to surpass our highest expectations with his depth, with his well-roundedness, with his maturity as a scholar. And in countless interactions as a superb collaborator with his project teammates, for instance, or as an exemplary teaching assistant in his subsequent time at the Booth Ph.D. program. Yiran earned the respect and the affection of our students. As we search now for from this tragic loss. One thing I know is that the warmth and joy that Yiran brought into our lives will be remembered and cherished today and forever.
Zhuguo He is the Fuji Bank and Heller Professor of Finance and Juk Faculty Fellow at Chicago's Booth School of Business. Professor He.
I am Zhi Guohe, a finance professor at Chicago Booth. It is with my deepest sorrow and sadness I have come here to share with you some personal stories about Yiran. As one of the most in-demand research professionals at the Pharma Miller Center, Yiran started working for me in 2016. It quickly became clear that Yiran was very different. There was no need to tell him how to do something. I just needed to let him what I would like to wanted to accomplish. Later that year, he took my second-year Ph.D. class, co-taught with Professor Douglas Diamond in corporate finance. He deserved an A+, but just because here we usually don't give A+, so we decided to give him A. Now I regret it. And this was even before he started the PhD program in 2017. After seeing his almost impeccable performance, I invited him out for dinner at Chinatown. And we started chatting about his personal life. He told me that he had been trying to do everything he could to get into a top PhD program. 2 master's degrees and a 2-year pre-doc research program. During this period of his life, Yiran struggled before his admission to the joint PhD program at the Chicago Booth and Economics Department. That part of life now is vividly recounted in a widely circulated article via Caixin media in China, following his sudden and tragic death last Saturday. I just cannot bear with it. That part of life showed Yiran has been such a determined and a perseverant fighter on almost every moment. While reading of that story, I just cannot help shedding my tears. The article also mentioned one quote by Yiran, which I recall he told me once. If you only give some effort, success is not necessarily guaranteed. But with great and sustained effort, something will eventually be achieved. In Chinese, 一分耕耘不一定有1分收获，但是10分耕耘就一定有1份收获。One thing about which I'm very sure is that Yiran regarded being part of the joint program at the University of Chicago as an achievement to be proud of. I was quite confident during the last few days as part of my healing process to discover that Yiran actually had a colorful life outside economics and finance, at least some more colorful than mine. Later you will hear some stories about his endeavors that have touched many other people, not only at the University of Chicago, but also at the PKU. He's just a talented man on a lot of different aspects. May his talents continue to shine wherever his soul now. Wish him rest in peace. Thank you.
Lars Hansen is the David Rockefeller Distinguished Service Professor in Economics, Statistics, and the Booth School of Business. Professor Hansen.
During this truly sad occasion, I thought I'd take the opportunity to give a few of my memories and recollections about Yiran and why it was special. I've known Yiran for about 6 years. During this time, there's been many memorable interactions. As Yiran mentioned, he was a research professional for the Farmer Miller Center in advance of graduate school. He worked on a project with my co-author, and not only did he do superb work, he actually pointed to stuff, made us think about the project in a different way, and improved the research substantially. This is something you expect from a colleague who's an expert in your field, but not from someone who's yet to start a Ph.D. program. Of course, not surprisingly, he also took my Ph.D. course and was a top student. Yiran's research combined rigor and clarity, always with an eye towards deepening our understanding of finance as it impacts economic and social welfare. But here is what I found to be truly a unique in a graduate student. Yiran took a very community view towards the advancement of understanding and knowledge. This showed up in many ways. Yiran was a teaching assistant for many of us, myself included. As a teaching assistant, he really took it upon himself to make sure that he advanced the knowledge of the students. He was always available and anxious to make sure they learned. Subsequent to that, I observed that young researchers and graduate students would gravitate to him to further their own education and understanding. My own research team would consult him freely when puzzled. When he took my classes, I'd see students clustering around him after the class, not me, to better understand the ideas and concepts. He was the one to be trusted with his deep understanding. He was a coordinator for student workshops and always a very important contributor. Caring for everyone's understanding and insights might be expected of a distinguished senior faculty member, but it was truly remarkable to see it manifested in so many ways by a graduate student. He accomplished all of this with a quiet and purposeful manner. He was both brilliant and very kind. I often say that excellent graduate students are among my very best colleagues. Yiran certainly has been a treasure in this role. While he will be sorely missed, I want to assure family and close personal friends that he will not be forgotten by those who knew him as a student, a friend, and a colleague. To Yiran's parents, you will have to forgive my poor Chinese, but Fei Chang Yihan.
Yiran had many friends among his fellow students. We invite to the podium two of them in turn, Lun Li and Katie Chen.
My name is Lun Li, and I'm a Ph.D. student at the University of Chicago, Department of Economics. Today I want to share with you some of my personal memories about Yiran. It was in September of 2015, and I walked into a Chinese drama club to rehearse for a play. When I walked into the room, I immediately noticed this new director of the play. He talked really fast and passionately, with a very recognizable voice and a great sense of humor. Later, I learned that the director's name was Yiran Fan, and he was a research professional at the Booth School of Business. That was when my friendship with Yiran started. The rehearsals lasted for 3 months. During the rehearsals, I get to learn more about Yiran and found he is really knowledgeable in a lot of areas, including literature, philosophy, and economics. I really enjoyed talking to him because every time I could learn something new from the conversation. The play was put on stage and it was a great success. After the play, Yiran and I kept in touch. I would often come to talk to him outside his office, and we would sit down for half an hour and talk about research, life, and other things in general. He was always able to provide valuable advice to me when I needed them the most. It was really assuring to know that I have a great friend here on campus who was always supportive and kind whenever I talked to him. One day, Yiran texted me and said he got an offer from the joint Ph.D. program in financial economics here at the University of Chicago. I knew how hard he worked for it, and I was sincerely excited for my friend. Soon after Yiran began his Ph.D., he became much busier and a lot happier as well. We had fewer chances to talk like we used to, but occasionally we would bump into each other and grab lunch together. I remember in 2019, I invited a lot of friends to my apartment to celebrate Chinese New Year. We made dumplings at home, and Yiran volunteered to cook them. That night, we had dinner, played board games, and laughed a lot. Last night, I was sitting alone in the same apartment, thinking about the great time we had 2 years ago. I was hit by a sudden wave of sadness when I realized I was not able to talk to my friend anymore. But then I said to myself, I was fortunate to have known Yiran for 6 years of my life, and I will remember him for the rest of my lifetime. I hope you will remember him as well. Thank you.
My name is Katie Tian. I'm a Booth MBA student from 2020. And I'm a former president of University of Chicago Windmill Chinese Drama Club, as Li Lun just mentioned. I was one of the 2 producers that Yiran had when he was directing the show No Exit in 2015. Yiran was one of the most talented directors that I have ever worked with in the last 8 years. He studied existentialism in college, and in the first email he ever wrote us, he illustrated in depth of his illustration of the existentialism master Jean-Paul Sartre, which immediately impressed us and earned him the spot of the director. Yiran had a romantic heart as well as a logical brain. He liked to express artistic presentation in mathematical terms. For example, he once told the three actors to stand in a perfect 150-degree obtuse isosceles triangle to evoke the tension of the characters. He was extremely patient with everyone in the crew. He knew exactly what he wanted for lighting, music, and stage design. He wrote the lyrics of The Son of Inez in the show, and he was always too nice to criticize anyone. Within the 3 months that I worked closely with him, I learned so much from him, and he really brought the quality of our show to the next level. Our show was a success, but soon after that, Yiran became a busy Ph.D. student, which I knew it was what he always wanted and worked very hard for. I texted him every semester when we were considering a new show for him to direct. He would politely reject me and chat about how he was stressed about this PhD qualifying exam. But whenever he had a chance, he would always come back and help us with auditions or rehearsals. Last time I met him, it was at Booth Winter Garden. I ran into him and told him, "We need a director again. We need you back." And he said, "Next time." On behalf of 195 friends at Windmill Drama Club, Yiran, thank you for the fond memories you brought us. We missed you much.
In time, the light of love and compassion can vanquish even the power of grief. We light our candles today in honor of Yiran. As we do so, we will hear a beautiful song of his own composition, the Song of Inez.
My darling, I overheard
One of the most celebrated prophets in the United States of America spoke these words: "We are tied together in the single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. And what affects one directly affects all indirectly." Today, as we honor the life of Yiran, we pause as well to remember all those who share in this tragedy, neighbors from south to north. Anthony Faulkner and Aisha Johnson of blessed memory, those who are still recovering from their wounds. And we extend our compassion to the Nightingale family as well. In the next few moments of silence, we honor those who have died and pray in our own way for all who mourn. And now, as we prepare to go our separate ways, we blow out our candles, confident that love can never be extinguished. I encourage you in the days ahead to continue to share stories and to support one another. Should you feel the need, please don't be shy about reaching out to student wellness, if you're faculty or staff, to perspectives. And anyone is welcome to contact us in Spiritual Life and Rockefeller Chapel. This concludes our vigil. Go in peace. Good night.